Hello and welcome to Inflection Point Conversations. I'm Michelle Obeda, an art director and 3D artist. In this podcast series, I'll be interviewing experts in the fields of art, architecture, and visualization. Together, we'll take a deep dive into the disruptive topics that have reached an inflection point in our industry. If you're enjoying this podcast, please take a moment to like, rate, and subscribe. You can also comment and give feedback. I'd love to reach more people and grow this amazing community. Today, I'm talking with Elizabeth Stark. Elizabeth is a senior manager of business development at The Boundary and also a co-curator and organizer of 3DNY. With 13 years of experience at the confluence of fine art, interior, web, graphic design, and technology, she's an expert in helping clients find beautiful experiences in line with their needs. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi, Michelle. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for coming and joining. It's great to have you. I know for any listeners who are listening who don't know, we've worked together in the past and we're both helping organize 3DNY with Mengi Fan and Derek Chan. It's been really great. It's so nice to have you on also for a slightly different point of view from a business development angle, which I think a lot of people find interesting and a lot of artists don't know about. So definitely going to pick your brains. But let's start at the beginning. You have a background in fine art. Like, what got you into project management?
Absolutely. So, I'm so grateful to be here. Really excited to talk a bit with you, Michelle. And so, yeah, just a bit of my background. So I studied graphic design in school. I first interned in New York City at an auction house called Phillips. And that was my first indication that I might be more interested in the business of art than necessarily the creation of the work itself. Although I will say that my background and experience has influenced everything that I do. I think it's been really integral to understand the iteration process, the critique process from an internal standpoint as well as a client standpoint as well. So it's definitely been something that has informed all of the conversations that I have. So after I graduated, I first worked in photography galleries in New York City for a few years, both in vintage as well as contemporary processes. All of the work that we represented, some of the favorite work that I represented was really, again, integrating some of these really traditional processes, darkroom processes together with digital future forward image making. And ultimately, the idea was that I was selling this work both in the gallery and at art fairs. So that really has informed my work in the ArchViz field. Of course, ultimately, I'm selling a creative service. I'm selling a photo-based service. And I have a ton of darkroom experience as well. So that was something I did in high school, I did in college. So many of these programs are utilizing the language around these traditional processes, even though they're digital formats. So that really helped for me to understand, even though I'm not trained in 3ds Max or Unreal, and I'm not creating in those programs, I've come to understand what the needs of the artists are and the needs of, let's say, our drone photographers might be, really how we're going to capture that built environment to make it feel photorealistic against what would really be happening if we were just there in a built space. So I know I digress a bit here about my background, but just that experience there really helped to inform a lot of what I do now. I also then worked as an account manager for about 3.5 years at luxury software as a service site First Dibs. There, they were going through a pretty major shift in their business model from a lead generation site, similar to, say, Craigslist, to an end-to-end e-commerce platform. So I was super inspired there. All of the C-suite individuals all were, MBA and Yale grads. So really they're Googling all of these business terms and coming to understand high-level economics and how we can make commercially viable tools in order to support the needs of businesses, as well as, create these beautiful experiences for the end purchasers. So that was very lovely. Worked in web design firms, servicing the art world, as well as some contract furniture agencies. Those places were ultimately placing furniture within high design New York office spaces. So a lot of those, if you walk into like a high powered business room in a brand new office tower, you're not seeing all of the integral AVs coming up underneath the tables of the conference room legs, the legs of the conference room tables. all of that desking, things like that. So really kind of lifting the hood on the interior design of these office spaces, which now I'm working towards just visualizing completely in 3D. So all of those experiences really came together for me to understand everything that would go into these high design new build spaces ground up. And, it's been super, super rewarding. I knew that I wanted to get into a very technical, creative field. I worked closely with a recruiting agency. That's something I would always recommend to somebody, having, an expert in placing and understanding your skills into some new field. They really helped me,
That's
and they placed
interesting.
me. Yeah, they placed
Yeah.
me in my first role about 5 years ago at another Viz studio, and I just sort of ran from there, project managing for about 3.5 years, senior project managing for about 3.5 years, and now I've been in business development for about a year and a half. So again, I
Yeah.
really think that everything it took to really understand the process of what we make and how that is from an internal production side, from a client needs side, has really informed my understanding of what it is that I'm selling and makes me more effective in my position now.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good thorough background. Like, so I mean, I love that you were into fine art and you were like into darkroom photography and stuff. Do you still do it in your spare time?
No, I haven't been in a dark room in a long time. I think I feel
Oh,
a great sense of nostalgia about it, but yeah, I would love to get involved in that again. But I love the creative process and making things.
yeah. What got you interested in architecture specifically? Like, have you always appreciated architecture, always wanted to get into that field?
Well, my dad, just on the side, has built most of the furniture in my house, so I was always inspired by that. And then I feel super grateful. Some friends of mine's grandfather is a quite known Danish furniture designer, and spending time in their homes growing up, I was very inspired by, mid-century modern design, monument to design, as well as just like the posters on the walls from MoMA in the '60s, and that was I grew up in a very small town, and that was some of my first exposure into this idea of like that school in New York City at that time. And I was just very much driven to end up there eventually in my career.
Yeah. And you went from project management, like senior project management to business development. How did you find that transition? Was it something that like came quite easily, or was there quite a steep learning curve?
You
If you can
know,
speak on it.
yeah, absolutely. I've been client facing in all of my roles to, varying degrees, and I feel quite comfortable in client conversations. I think that it was nice after 3.5 years to kind of have a little bit of a variety of what my typical day to day was. I feel inspired by finding elegant solutions to problems or challenges faced by clients, and I definitely think that it was a little bit different but exciting, and it's been like a whole new challenge for me, so yeah, it's good.
Yeah. And I guess, is it something that once you do it for a while, you get like more client relationships and it's something that I guess you need to build up. So like with experience, also it becomes a little bit easier perhaps.
Well, absolutely. Relationship building is so key to this, and there's so many options out there. And I'm really supportive of this industry as a whole. I love the fact that there can be a whole range of fits for different clients, for different needs, for small shops, for freelancers, for bigger shops. I would definitely say that this role has required me to be more in tune with the industry as a whole, with the economics behind it. I mean, it's integral um, to finding new clients and to finding a fit that works for them. So that's definitely been inspiring. I feel like before I was, handed projects and worked through them with the team, and now it's really been important for me to understand what's going on in the industry of real estate, and not just with ArchViz.
Yeah. And that's really interesting also because I think a lot of artists, particularly when you're, junior and mid and even senior, you can work in an ArchViz studio and not really be aware too much of the economy and the economic situation. And yeah, something I definitely wanted to talk to you about is the state of the industry at the moment, architecture and ArchViz, but particularly ArchViz because we both work in those fields. Um, And a lot of studios, particularly in the US, have been downsizing. A lot of people looking for jobs, and it's really suffering. And I'm wondering if you can, like, why do you think ArchViz is suffering economically at the moment? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Of course. And, I know this is a difficult conversation for so many individuals in the industry right now. Ultimately, we are a consulting industry to real estate at large. So, given high interest rates, there has been a significant constriction in commercial real estate, particularly in the sort of ground up real estate development, which requires the really, really incredibly beautiful photorealistic image making and 3D experiences that our teams produce. And so with less construction such as that there and smaller marketing budgets to support those projects, then simply there is less work and there is less need for teams on site in the United States. So I know that there's been difficult decisions made by company leaders, and a lot of those have included downsizing staff or moving staff elsewhere. I think this industry is or I know that this industry is highly international. That's something that I really love about it, getting to work with and meet people from all over the world. But unfortunately, it is expensive to host those individuals in New York City on visas. So tough decisions have had to been made. And, I think it's really amazing that there are new opportunities for people worldwide to work collaboratively, in the cloud on these sorts of things and to be able to access work in remote locations. Those are awesome opportunities that I think, providing to
Yeah.
individuals in South America and Eastern Europe is very amazing. But again, leaving people in New York City up against a hard wall. So I hope that, my work at 3D and Y has felt quite dedicated to this idea of staying in the know of how these 3D skills in the same programs, which will support other industries, trends towards more Web3 style experiences will be across industries and not just within ArchViz. And those skills will translate into new opportunities in fashion, in art, in really building any sort of
Yeah,
experience.
interiors, yeah,
Exactly. And
games,
so
yeah.
yeah, I definitely feel like it's challenging times, and I hope that, I've heard a couple of success stories about people finding new opportunities in tangential industries. Again, whether that is Web3, AR, VR, um, you name it, it's out there, and I hope to allow voices for our members to find new opportunities in those spaces.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thanks. That's a great answer and it's really well put. I think I've been sensing a big shift in our industry, particularly in the last few months. I've become more aware of it. And also 3DNY has been great for that, all the different people in our community that we get to meet. But it's also allowed me to understand, what might be happening in a company I'm working with is actually happening across the board, and the wider context. I feel like there's a bit of a shift of like, what can you use your skills for? Because I think because of the offshore hiring, I think that's like a big thing which has positives and negatives. So it's great for people who live in either remote places or in countries, where they don't have big studios or they don't have renowned studios. It's great to provide work, but it's so difficult for people who live in expensive cities like New York, where, yeah, finding where you can place your skills, I guess. Like, yeah, I guess like diversifying a little bit. Yeah, let's talk about 3D and Y. Like how, I mean, I know how you got into it because I roped you into it a little bit, but I feel like you've been thriving in the whole aspect of the community of it and the organization. Tell me about your experience.
Well, I really appreciate that. It's been so rewarding. And yeah, just for some background, the community began in, I guess, 2018. And they were running for about a year and a half pre-pandemic. After closing down for a while during the pandemic, yes, Michelle, you reached out to me. We were working together at the time. We got Maggie Fan involved, who had been, part of the previous iterations leadership committee. And we reinvigorated this community about just over a year ago. And again, we have really sought over the last year or so to involve as many members as we could, to give presentations, to come out and network with, their friends in the industry, to keep momentum strong, to share techniques, whether they be technical or creative, amongst ourselves, to become inspired, and just to have like a nice sense of um, I don't know, networking and spending
And
time together
community,
to
right?
learn. Yeah, community is super important. I've never been the leader of a program before, and being a coordinator, organizer, curator has been super rewarding. And I think also, again, as we've seen this as a difficult year in many ways, I think the meaning of this has really only deepened over the course of this year. And I look forward to the fact that we've gained a lot of new momentum. We had 50 people in person 2 weeks ago, as well as 20 people joining via Zoom.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
so
pretty
excited for
epic.
that, as well as some great new support from Epic Games, as well as SVA and the real-time community. So this sort of corporate level sponsorship and involvement is definitely validating to the work that we've put in. And again, hopefully will help to amplify the voices who we give audience to help them to find new opportunities, as well as hopefully clients within the market. Everything that we do, again, is highly creative, it's technical, but without commercial viability. We're just talking amongst ourselves, and I would love to find new opportunities for our members.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a great hive of people and opportunities. And I feel when there's months when attendance is low, when there's like lack of interest, I hear a lot of people also asking like, where is it? How come it's not here? And and I think people want it. So it seems to be the organizing or maybe the gathering, like people want to see great presentations and people do really want to present, and it's finding like, guys, come together on this date, in this like cute little bar that's cozy on the Lower East Side, and very friendly. Yeah, I think it's a great thing. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying when it's, when people are jumping at it, which is, at the moment. I'd love to talk to you about your experience with clients at the moment. I know that, in non-specifics, have you found that clients, like in this like economic climate at the moment, have you found them hesitant to commit to projects, or is that not always across the board?
I mean, I think it's fair to say that commercial is more challenged at the moment, but I have also found that there has been significant interest in future forward technologies. I've been so proud to work with the Boundary. They have developed some incredible new digital twin software and capabilities in the last couple of years with the acquisition of Build Media in New Zealand. They are using Unreal Engine to power some beautiful experiences. So again, everything from digital twin, which I think is ultimately going to be the gold standard that we're moving towards in the next few years. This acts as exactly as it sounds, a digital twin for use case such as iteration rounds in design phases where architects can collaborate from all over the world, uploading their latest 3D model into the cloud, and they can collaborate across teams. They can submit these to stakeholders within development agencies and really develop the future of what that particular development will look like, all at the same time, and really collapsing a lot of the different communications that need to go into that development phase. From there, within the marketing phase, those exact same 3D models, super, super detailed with all of the materials applied, can be utilized in order to develop the marketing campaigns,
Mm-hmm.
to promote the sales and leasing of both commercial and residential spaces. We're utilizing that on a number of projects. We're super excited to see those outcomes. Once you go through the significant build that it takes to create those, there's a almost infinite amount of
Yeah.
output you can make that looks super beautiful and extremely detailed. So I think that we're moving in that direction, but there's also a lot of commercial applications beyond that. within the construction phases as well for developers. So there's a lot of reasons that that is going to be important to them, as well as a lot of kind of out of the box marketing strategies. So whether that be sort of like that, the Web3 creative moment, a tokenized experience that leads to something else in the real world, are you creating an event space that you're buying your ticket in the metaverse, but then you're actually going to that developer's, new concert venue in person. So yeah, I definitely think that there's a lot of out of the box opportunities that are going to come from that. And they're again powered by Unreal Engine, which is being utilized by so many different industries right now. So there's a lot of opportunity there. And then my team has also developed an app called Real Space. This
Nice.
is utilized in person in sales and leasing galleries. There's a lot of functionality to plug directly into the APIs that are being run by development teams, so that they can have insights into the sales viability of their different spaces. Basically, a sales agent can be standing within their sales gallery. They use an iPad to power the experience on like a large TV. They can click into a bunch of different media, whether that would be still renderings, films, 3D tours, things of that nature, interactive stacking plans. And then they can send those to an end potential buyer, and that they'll kind of receive it as a little bite-sized website, so they can take a
Yeah.
look and hopefully buy that space. So I think that this kind of app development is really, really key to the viability of our team moving forward. We're not just offering straight up Viz, we're offering an expanded
Set of like tools,
set of
right?
tools,
Yeah.
exactly, which can be utilized by the developer in so many different ways. And that to me was very inspiring to join the Boundary. And I know that this sort of wide range is super functional, and I can understand why that sets us apart from the competition.
Yeah. It's great that the Boundary have really, really embraced all the different tools as well. I feel like, especially with Unreal, the potential is so big there, and I think the challenge that many studios that I worked in the past have really struggled to find. Everyone's seen the potential, but really struggled to find clients who want to invest in that from the beginning. And so I think that's the hardest thing, and that's the hard thing about your job. I mean, that's the great thing about your job is like, can you just get someone on board who sees what they can get with this thing? So like finding the clients who have the money, who have the need for such a big, because once you, as an artist, once you make the space and, you texture it up and you've made the world in Unreal, you can offer people tons of stuff for very little work after that, in terms of, rendering. So yeah, it's a great potential. I'm glad to see that it's being used more as well. I feel like more and more studios are picking it up and finding this like digital twin version, something like that. I think lots of studios now are doing that, which is awesome. I want to talk to you about AI, the great question about AI. I don't know, have you guys been dabbling in that at all, like in a research capacity or using it for production at all? Do you know?
I think this is a great question, and I know there's a lot of individuals in the field who are feeling both excited about as well as a bit threatened by AI, and I think that that is a healthy way to feel at this time. I know that our teams are using it for some, early stage iteration rounds, look and feel, things of that nature. I know that there are some moments within landscaping that can be improved by AI tools. As far as, these tools having the specificity necessary to truly power the ultimate output of what we are creating, no, the tools are not at that point. I know that things like that are coming, and there's amazing developers working on amazing things right now that floor me, and that I honestly don't know everything about, and I would love to continue to learn about. I am sure that anybody who is in any sort of a white collar position, or I don't know, any position, if you're not staying on top of what's happening in AI and how you can leverage that to make your workflows more efficient, to make them smarter, to make them better, then, we're just going to be a little bit behind. So, I've been helping to use them. I've been using them in my research processes. My team has been using them in their research processes. That would be more within the like marketing and sales capacities. And we'll see what should happen, but
I
that's
have a question.
yeah,
As
go ahead.
someone who is client facing, do you think clients can tell the difference between an AI image and a like human made image?
I mean, can clients tell the difference between a photograph and a really good render, or even a bad render? Not
Yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah.
Not always. It kind of depends. Some of my clients are, nerds on this topic, and they know the difference between things produced in Unreal, things produced in 3ds Max. Others, they don't really know, and they have other areas of expertise, and they lean on us as the true experts. And so I think it's total range.
Mm,
But are images that come out of Midjourney looking incredible? Absolutely. Are they mind-blowing? Absolutely. And
mm.
so,
And
yeah.
does it matter how it was made? I mean, at the point of like, I mean, I think, you know, um, you know, when work coming out of Unreal became more and more, you know, realistic looking, the question of whether or not it was made in Unreal sort of didn't matter, And I think maybe that's the same thing with AI. Like if if it serves the purpose and it's convincing and it works, do you think it actually matters? Maybe not.
Maybe not, but I think something to keep in mind that calms me and should calm people in general, and and we can't blame clients for this. But until there's this point that clients know exactly what they want, then it's not as though they can just go ahead and put prompts in and get out what they need. They of course still rely on creative partners, and I feel super empowered that my peers in this industry are incredible minds, both technical and creative. And so we will continue to be integral to the process of creating beautiful marketing campaigns and tools that they can use for sale, leasing, you name it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's definitely such an interesting thing to be looking future forward, isn't it? Do you feel like you've always thought about that? This is like some other questions I have for you. Like I always feel like I try and stay at least curious and at best knowledgeable about new technologies and things. Like do you feel like you've always had that, especially being in the position that
Yeah.
you are in BD, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely throughout the course of my career, I've been inspired. When I jumped from galleries to then go work at First Dibs, I can remember in those early days working there, being in, big meetings and just making lists that all of my executives of terms that they were using that I was yet unaware of. And so a lot of these like product management terms, things like that, really formalizing my understanding of the considerations of the more technical teams I was working with, again, to better inform the conversations I was having with my clients. Like that was very important to me. Even though in the end I wasn't working on those tools myself, that was key to my understanding of what we would or would not be able to accommodate as far as like a request is concerned. When it came to ArchViz and my experience here, continued learning is important to me. I did a crypto course about 2 years ago called Pomp's Crypto Academy. Anthony Pompliano is a popular individual who writes within the space. And, I really wanted to formalize my knowledge in the space. I would
Mm,
say that was my first moment of understanding the relationship between the, metaverse and what that was, and the fact that I was already in an industry that had such a direct relationship to
yeah.
the that were being produced there. So again, now here we are 2 years later, and so much of that stuff is coming to market. So much more of that stuff is getting backing. I remember I was looking for a job at one point and had attended a conference in the space, and I was there looking for project management jobs, and all these teams were like, we don't really have any jobs for project managers right now because we don't have enough projects. And so our technical and creative teams are just, they're managing their own. And so until there is enough, signatures on bottom lines from clients, there was not really a need for it. So yeah, I definitely
Mm.
all of those spaces are obviously growing. Our program at 3D&Y next in March 20th is going to feature a couple of creators in that space who we're so excited to host. And, I definitely think that it should be interesting to see. I don't think that ultimately end users really care that much whether or not the thing that they're accessing is Web3 or is it 2.5 or whatever. They just want what they want. They want an experience, excuse me, whether that's in the digital space or IRL. And they want an easy access for them to get it. And they want the experience to be really lovely and the UX to be smooth while they're accessing it digitally. And then they want that end thing to be awesome. So again, whether that's ultimately going to be online or in the real world, they want what they want. So yeah, it should be interesting to see what people continue to build, and I'll be eyes open.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great answer. I feel the same. One closing question for you. Do you have any advice for someone who is either wanting to get into business development or, someone who's maybe started their own studio, wants to start their own company and is doing business development for the first time?
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I think that really understanding what your strengths are is important. I am obviously totally a people person. So I think that I am, more apt to this kind of sales environment. Again, I mentioned before working as a recruiter, it was really, really key for me to understand what the best fit was. Niche industry wise. So definitely always recommend that. They can also help you to find new opportunities within things you already know that you want to do, or again, to kind of point you in the right direction. I am a huge proponent of LinkedIn. I'm always using LinkedIn to try to find new clients, to understand business organizations of businesses. Again, on any of that ongoing education, I think is fantastic. And extracurricular involvement. Leading 3D&Y and being involved in that has been wonderful, but there are, similar groups for every different industry. So getting involved how you can, trying to be a thought leader as much as possible, reading lots of articles, all of these things are really fantastic. And then as far as like more direct involvement for business development, attending conferences within your industry. There's tons of real estate conferences in New York and beyond. So I'm always going to those to try to meet clients in person. Obviously, reaching out to people over the computer is great, but in-person connections are even better. And then, everyone has moments where they're not sure of themselves. And so really practicing your, 2-minute little elevator pitch of what that moment's going to be when you do meet that potential client. That and, just kind of like fake it till you make it a little bit.
Yeah, confidence.
And people respond well to name dropping. If you have really fantastic previous clients or experiences at previous companies, which may immediately give you kind of like viability in their eyes, just go ahead. It's kind of
That's really good. That's really good insight. I feel like that's a good tip. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's been great having you here. It's been great chatting. I love your enthusiasm, your energy, and thanks for being really open also about like the experience of what you do. It's been really fantastic.
Oh, I appreciate you so much. And, perhaps it's self-effacing to promote our community so heavily from within, but I really appreciate this opportunity. And I look forward to seeing many of you at 3D&Y in the future.
Absolutely. And I'll put the link in here as well. So anyone who doesn't have it already can join. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.